Right. I led you to the word domestic tourism,
Yes.
and then I sort of diluted my questioning.
Right.
Your views on that?
Well,
Because again, this idea that domestic tourism is a
Yeah.
sort of grandiose freebie.
Yeah.
The international tourist pays in huge sums of money,
Yeah.
and we one ain't cheap because they're our lions, our elephants. We
Yeah.
ought to see them for free.
Yeah.
Correct?
No, absolutely not. You know, I believe that there definitely is a lot more education that's required in the local market to stimulate a lot more domestic travel, but a lot more Kenyans are traveling today. You visit any beach resort or safari destination and you will find Kenyans. You will find Kenyans of Asian origin, you'll find Kenyans of African origin, you'll find Kenyans of European origin. So a lot more Kenyans are traveling today. A lot more Kenyans are appreciating the fact that we have all these, you know, we have the eighth wonder of the world in Kenya. We have all these other, you know, various attractive resorts, and they are beginning to travel. There is a high level of domestic travel, and Kenyans can afford to travel. So the perception that Kenyans are consistently and constantly looking for freebies is a misconception again.
Right.
Kenyans can afford, Kenyans will afford, and Kenyans do actually pay to stay in luxurious properties. And the difference is, John, that there's a wide range of product that's available. So the fact that somebody opts to stay in a 3-star as opposed to a 5-star doesn't necessarily mean that they're cheapo or El Cheapo looking for a deal. It's just choice. We do take choices. You know, some people shop in certain supermarkets and others don't. Others shop, you know. So it's a misconception.
Point taken. I think I'd like to draw you on this other sort of negative perception of the tourist industry in general, and perhaps emanating from hotels.
Right.
The idea of a cultural invasion. This is the beach boy syndrome. Is that something that can be policed, or this is the way of the world and we will have sort of people walking along the beaches in a certain way, the drugs, all of these sort of side issues, pornography, rackets. Do you reckon that there's sufficient control?
Currently not, unfortunately, but fortunately it's being addressed. There is a beach management program that was launched last year by the Kenya Wildlife Services in conjunction with the private sector at the coast to address the issue of the beach traders. I prefer to call them beach traders as opposed to beach boys, because there are certain people who are genuinely trying to make a living from trade on the beach. But what we get to hear about are the unfortunate cases of tourists being harassed and all by these criminal elements, I'd call them. So there is a program that was launched with the private sector and by KWS. And that is a beach management program to address these kind of things, and they are addressable. You know, we don't need to have traders on the beach. We need to have them in locations close to the beach, because you don't want to make it inconveniencing for the buyers, for the tourists. So a lot of these issues in terms of the beach traders, in terms of the cleanliness of the beaches, in terms of the other environmental related issues around the beaches can be addressed, will be addressed. The political will is there. The stakeholders have always been ready to address these issues, but the enabling environment has not been there. And I think now that we have these county governments, the Mombasa County, I think this is one of the immediate challenges that will be addressed with the county government and the governor in Mombasa by a very vibrant stakeholder group in Mombasa.
Right. You brought up the word, and you're leading me to another strand of thinking, this word county governments.
Yes.
Should the symbol of, there's the governor's house, there's the governor's office, should the symbol of the developed county be a huge, at least 3-star hotel in every county?
Well, I think the symbol of development in a county is anything that is introduced that is new and that is able to empower the community within there. If it is a hotel, and a hotel is seen as a status symbol, a quality hotel seen as a status symbol, I think, you know, fantastic, because, you know, we definitely need to diversify the tourism product. And I think with this new county government system, or this new county system, there's a huge opportunity to diversify the product and move us away from places that are already highly saturated with hotel beds, like the Mara.
Right.
You know, I think.
So what are the considerations? Let's
Yeah.
assume that I'm playing sort of devil's advocate for my part of the world.
Right.
And you're the hotelier. You are a player for a key group of hotels, and I want to interest you in putting up. You're the private sector. We said
Right.
public-private partnerships.
Partnership.
What should I be aiming to do? What is the proposal that's going to be most attractive to you?
I think the proposal is for us, or for the counties, to identify sustainable projects that benefit the community, benefit the county itself. I think that's very, very important. I do not believe that hospitality or the tourism sectors should just grow in counties, unplanned and unthought out. It's got to be well structured.
Let's build a hotel.
Absolutely, it's got to be well structured.
Yes.
Yeah, there's got to be no pressure from players outside of the county. I think it's got to be something that is sustainable, something that will benefit the community, and something that will benefit the tourism sector as well. And I think one of the biggest things that we need to do in the tourism sector is to develop diversified products. Yeah, today beach and bush are no longer unique. There's beach and bush next door. There's beach and bush if you're talking about, the southern parts of Africa. It's no longer unique, but we have numerous products that are quite unique that we can develop. As I said, agritourism. We have
right.
tea, we have coffee. If the South Africans are able to develop wine tours, why can't we develop tea and coffee tours? Why not?
Right.
Coffee is one of the largest drank beverages in the world, and we can develop that. We have 26 different national parks, but everything is focused around the Masai Mara and Nakuru. Of course, for obvious reasons, there is no migration anywhere else other than the Masai Mara. But there's huge opportunities to develop other products. And I think this is where the counties will be very beneficial. And this is where the private sector need to now talk to counties with a plan.
I think if I heard you rightly earlier on in our conversation, you were suggesting basically that we should draw more, for want of a better word, African tourists to Kenya from the rest. Now let's look to our neighbors.
Yes.
Do you, within the hotel industry, have synergies of cooperation with our Tanzanian, our Burundian, our Rwandan, our Ugandan neighbors?
Yes.
Or is it every man for himself and woman and God for us all?
No, we have great relationships, I think, as a destination in terms of the tourist board, but also in terms of the hospitality and hotel industry. We have great relations. We do a lot of marketing in those markets. We definitely have partners there who help us out. So it's not one of those things of, just go in there without a plan and just hope for the best. No, there is a plan. We do go into those markets with a plan. We have partners there who help us out in marketing.
And do they
the products.
welcome them, or do they see it? Because again, the politicians, the Tanzanians hate us.
Yeah.
Ooh, they don't want us to go there. Are these myths, are these stereotypes being created where the reality on the ground is somewhat different?
Yeah. Well, there are challenges in the tourism industry in terms of from competition. There is healthy competition, and sometimes unhealthy competition does creep in, but I don't think that has sort of changed the way we promote ourselves. And likewise, the way Tanzania promotes itself in Kenya. I think, we need to start seeing ourselves as an East African community, and I think it's slowly beginning to happen. There are small little teething political issues within the industry between the two countries, but I don't think that is something that's going to stifle or prevent progress.
Right.
But I think in terms of from a regional perspective, and this is why, John, I think is a huge opportunity,
right,
is that I think Kenya Airways it's played its part.
Right.
Kenya Airways links Nairobi to over 45 destinations in Africa out of 54 different countries. They have made Nairobi a hub. JKIA is a hub. And what we need to now do with the support of the government is to make sure that we get these people out into Kenya spending on Kenyan products. And that's very, very important. Jubilee Manifesto talks about making Kenya a final destination or an end destination as opposed to a transit point.
Right.
I fully agree with that.
Right. Time enough for two more little things.
Yes.
This idea of stereotypes, perceptions, and I'm just going to throw to them. The South Africans are coming to invade, the Chinese are coming to invade, the Indians are coming to invade. Everybody wants to take over our country and our industries, and we must get rid of them. Good thinking?
No, I don't think so. I think, unfortunately, when somebody feels that their space is being invaded, obviously they do start to panic and feel insecure. But I think these are important markets. They're coming to the country. We must take advantage of these markets. We must encourage them. These are developing markets, and these are markets that have huge numbers, and they do have potential to spend. And we need to take the entry of these markets positively, as opposed to feeling that our space is being invaded. There's huge opportunities. So
right,
therefore, it's not something that I believe should be of major concern to anybody.
Right. The last question, open-ended. What would be, having said what you've said from that point of expertise and knowledge, in personal summary, 5 years for a government, the Jubilee coalition of which you've spoken, priorities, where do we go from here?
I think that 5 years down the line, I think that the biggest challenge now is to achieve the 3 million arrivals. I think that we need to make sure that we need to look at things from two perspectives. I think we need to look at what we need to do here to encourage more tourism, and we need to look at what we need to do overseas to make sure that we're communicating, we're creating awareness. So I think in terms of where do we go from here, I think the sky's the limit. You know, I think we should be targeting much higher numbers than 3 million. I think it is achievable. We just need to make sure that the plans that are in place are actually implemented. And I'm very confident about the industry. I've been in the industry for 22 years, and I hope I've got another 22 successful years in the future in this industry.
Indeed, indeed. Jimi Kariuki, Hotelier, thank you so very much for being on the JSO interview.
Thank you very much, John.